Hi guys, just a couple of announcements before we start. Fire exits there, and at the back. Keep quiet please when people are on the shot, mobile phones off, etc. And otherwise, as much noise as you can, both when we're introducing the players and cheering when good shots during the match. Please enjoy. Hello and welcome back to Blackpool for the second of our individual men's singles semi-finals. We've got a great match in store this afternoon between two men that have 5 world titles between them. Officiating over proceedings, please welcome the referee, Sasha Gauci. And first up, a man with 2 world titles in 2013 and 2014. Please welcome Tom Cousins. And his opponent, 3 times a world champion, it's Mick Hill. Big welcome back to Blackpool, where we're underway with the second of our men's singles semi-finals. A cracking match we've got in prospect. 5 world titles between these two gentlemen. 3 for the man whose name appears on the left of the screen, Mr. Mick Hill, and 2 for his Welsh opponent, Tom Cousins. Joining me in the commentary box again, David Veery. Looks like it should be a cracker, this one.
Absolutely. Everyone's been waiting for this match now for 3 days. It's been talked about a lot. I think Tom is probably slight favourite, which is unusual for Mick, but Tom's had a fantastic season, having won all 3 UK Pool Tour events so far this year, and now made the semi-finals of this event. And I think the most frames he's lost in any match so far in this event is 3 frames.
That's a ridiculous statistic, given the level of opposition he's played so far.
Absolutely. But a dry break to start off with. The man who's renowned to have the best break in the world of pool at the moment. Getting used to this 8-foot table for the break as well. Yeah, that's something he won't be wanting to do too much of. Everyone's expecting this to be break and dish all the way. As you say, this has been a much hyped match. This is a match that
was the final 2 years ago, and a lot of people feel like it should be the final this year. See, the draw doesn't always work out like that. Now, the unusual thing coming into this is that Mick Hill, who's 3 times a world champion and one of the most experienced English 8-ball players in history, hasn't been playing as much as usual. I'm sure he's prepared thoroughly for this tournament, but he's been playing a lot more Chinese 8-ball recently, we understand.
Yeah, he sort of said he treats himself as a part-time world rules player now, because obviously Chinese 8-ball is becoming large as well. But clearly it's not affecting his form, because he's had a great run as well to get to the semi-finals here. But that's gone slightly wrong there, though.
He's always been a big occasion player, Mick. He's not playing in as many smaller tournaments, but I'm not sure that will really have that much bearing on his form coming into this. Put him in front of a crowd in a big arena like this.
And he loves the arena, doesn't he? Both these players love the arena. They thrive on it.
Yeah, they're very different characters. Mick Hill, far more the showman, always got plenty to say, whereas Tom Cousins much more reserved in terms of interviews and things, but an absolute animal on the table. So, no first visit clearance for Mick Hill, but he's played a decent containing shot there. He's got balls over both of the bottom corner pockets. We're expecting, of course, this to turn into a very attacking match, but it's not to say that the players are just going to go wildly for everything. Sometimes the situation dictates a tactical exchange is required.
It's like the first semi-final, isn't it? The first few frames, both players managed to get their hands on the table to get used to it. They'll both be happy to be able to feel what the table plays like. As I said, they've been practicing on a practice table in a separate room, but obviously the conditions there play slightly different to what they do on the arena here. That's a great start there from Tom. Just gone far enough to see this red into the middle pack.
To say Tom is the player in form this season is something of an understatement. He has literally just won every tournament he's been playing in. 3 out of 3 tours. We were debating earlier quite what record he holds, but he's definitely the first person to win the first 3 tours. He may be the first person to win 3 consecutive ones, certainly in the history of the current incarnation of the UK Tour, and probably going further back than that to some of its predecessors.
Certainly if he wins the next one and wins 4, that'll definitely be the record,
yes.
Come what may.
I don't think he's a guy that's necessarily that driven by that kind of record.
Not
He's
at all.
just a guy that likes to win pool matches.
Yeah, that hasn't quite worked out.
No,
Does have a plan B.
No, he's finished in the worst imaginable spot for the ones at the bottom of the table. Both of these players will have a lot of respect for each other. They were both laughing and joking before the match. They're good friends off the table and both looked like they were looking forward to the occasion.
Yeah, because a lot of times before a match you don't see the 2 players talking to each other, but these 2 were chatting away like mad before the match started.
Yeah, I mean, you can debate whether that's a good idea. I think you have to just go with whatever works for you. For some people, they're better left on their own.
That's a great pot, straight in the middle.
An example of what a great QST is. It's some people that would have been an annoying shot to have left themselves, but for Tom it's just a slightly longer shot, no bother at all. So back in decent position now. Got a very straightforward style of play. Just doesn't look like he's worrying about too much. Just walks around the table, pots the ball, on to the next one. Out of the 4 semi-finalists we've seen today, these 2 are probably the best out-and-out potters. Not much to choose between the overall 4 in terms of standard, though. Close last semi-final we saw, that Phil Harrison ultimately prevailing. Both of these players know that'll be a tough test.
I'm definitely not going to try and predict a score here.
No, I mean, this is the kind of match where actually pretty much every scoreline is possible. I mean, they're both good, so you assume a close scoreline is the most likely, but equally they're both such fluent players that they could run away with it. There's a nervous moment there for Tom Cousins. He thought for a moment he'd gone in off, which would have been somewhat inexcusable from the position, but no harm done in the end. Just got to mind what he's doing here, though. Not in absolutely perfect position to get on the black. Seeming to dig down on the cue ball. Oh, he's cued
Great
that
pot.
so well.
Every pot's been in the middle of the pocket. So despite a dry break, Tom has managed to win the first frame. And now Mick Hill will be hoping to reply to that with a break and dish. Again, we'll see how the break works with him. I think Tom will probably change his break slightly from the first one to see something that works, and once it does, he'll stick with that.
Yeah, one of the keys to his success in this arena over the last few years has been the consistency of the break. He'll be wanting to get that under control early on. This is, of course, his first match in this arena. New table installed just for these final stages. Was a big arena with a lot of tables earlier on in the week when he was making his way through the field. Huge amount of experience both of these players have on this stage. Tom Cousins won back-to-back titles in 2013, 2014. Mick Hill took the crown the year after, and then they both had a break whilst Sean Chipperfield took the honours last year. It looks like he relishes being out in the arena, Mick Hill. Sort of natural showman, likes to show what he can do in front of everyone.
They both look very focused at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, it's exactly the right way of doing it. Jovial off the table on their way in, but as soon as they're in the arena, it's all business. Very important moment for them. Records there for both of them to match or exceed.
Both have got good break shots as well, haven't they? Oh. Didn't quite hit that as you wanted to, I don't think, though.
No, it wasn't a brilliant connection on the pack. The fact that white was flying around was just bad luck because that got kicked by an object ball, but not an amazing split in terms of potting one, although actually they've split quite nicely, so he's not going to be too pleased with what he's left.
Whichever colour he decides to go on, there's going to be a couple of little challenges for him to overcome. But it looks like he's opting for yellows. Plenty of reverse side on that shot there. You really saw that well on that angle, didn't you?
Yeah, he's amazing cue. He just gets
Fizzed
through
off the
the
cushion.
cue ball so well. Can apply any amount of pace or spin that's required. Wasn't quite what he had in mind. He didn't really want to be colliding with that one, but it's not turned out too bad. It's knocked into a
He's trying to
decent position.
split the 5 balls in the middle, around the black spot there. He's got plenty of opportunities now.
30 seconds.
In terms of out-and-out cue ball power and control, these two are unquestionably the best in the tournament. They both have a fantastic cue action, get so smoothly through the ball. Well, opting for the safety, he's not played that quite right, looking to get the white really tight to that yellow. It's left Mick a look at a couple of reds. I mean, it's not obviously in perfect position, but it would have been better to have him tied up a bit tighter than this. Both very quick players when they're in and amongst the balls, but this is obviously a more difficult situation. He's got quite a bit to think about.
It's been a trend the last couple of days, hasn't it, to have a slightly more tactical start to a match, and then sort of halfway through the match it tends to open up a little bit more and become a lot more attacking.
Absolutely, that was the way of the World Masters final last night, and it was certainly the way of the World semi-final that preceded this.
I don't think many of us are expecting too many tactical battles in this frame, because they're both outstanding clearance merchants.
Yes, and they both know how good the other one is, so I think they just figure that leaving them opportunities is a bad idea. So if they've got even a half chance, it's best to go for it. So you can see it's just a...
It's not a bad shot, because it's not a total snooker.
Yeah, edge of that red sticking out, which
But
is
really hasn't left him a lot.
So the fact it's not a total snooker means that he's still got to hit a cushion after he makes contact with the red. So he can't, for example, roll off a cushion up behind a red. It's the kind of match that could be over in no time at all.
Absolutely.
They get into a few clearances. Doesn't necessarily feel like it right now. I don't think the same issue really applies either to these two playing themselves in. We were talking slightly in the last match about Dave Fernandez having slightly less singles experience in this arena, so maybe getting a good start was a little more important. These two have just spent so much time out here that I don't think either of them will have any lack of confidence in their own ability.
No, even if one of them goes 2-3 frames down early on, I don't think it'll faze them too much.
No, and I mean actually the way these two play, I think there being runs of a couple of frames, 2, 3, 4 frames to one person and then the same back wouldn't be that unlikely, because they both run off several in a row and they both know the other one's likely to.
30 seconds.
Seen some great matches from both of these two over the years. When McHill won his first title in 2004, he was already a very good player at that point, and it kind of felt like validation from a man who already seemed like the best player in the world. He's then added 2 more titles since then. I think it was a haul that perhaps could have been more, but for the fact that he's, for some of those years, focused on other games as well, hasn't always played this absolutely full time.
There's been a lot of other quality players as well in the meantime as well, hasn't there? I didn't realise it's 13 years ago he won his first title then.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it. There's been quite a gap between, he won in 2004, then 2010 he beat his good friend Gareth Potts, the man who he ties the record for 3 titles with that year, and then 5 years ago back again for another crack when he beat Tom in the final. So that's 3 of the last 4 finals that Tom's appeared in. Every chance of making it 4
4 out of 5.
That's often the way in sport, even though there's a lot of good players around. Once you get the confidence of being the guy that's winning all the time, it's a huge advantage.
He's definitely taking his time at the moment to make sure he plays the right shots.
Yeah, we've seen 1 time foul and 1 very close to a time foul in the last 2 streamed matches.
Yeah, in the last match I think Phil Harrison got to 59.5 seconds on one of his shots.
You'd ordinarily say neither of these two were in any danger of getting close to 60 seconds, but in these tactical exchanges it does take a lot longer.
Seconds.
Ooh.
Well,
he won't be too disappointed with that, Harry left that white.
Not too many options here for Tom.
I don't think he'll be looking to move anything with those 3 balls in the middle there, because that's still a little bit of a safety net for him.
Yes, and no real need
Try
to
and clip off 2 cushions and... Oh, which way is he going now? Yeah, the right shot.
Yeah, those balls were positioned quite well to rest on. McHill showing appreciation for the judgment on display. Interesting to see how this pans out. Sometimes these matches with all the expectations have a lot to live up to, and it can be hard to.
30 seconds.
Still fancy there'll be a lot of good break building later on in the match, though.
Does that red go all the way to the top bag? Has he reached it? Perfect shot. Lovely shot.
Mick's judgment of those long cuts along cushions has always been incredible. You see him take on those shots where most people would be happy to cover the pocket, and he always just nails it right in the middle of the bag.
He's definitely eyeing that clearance here. He's had a look at that red just before the underneath the yellow by the black there, which goes into the corner pocket, which will then free up the other red as well at the same time.
30 seconds.
So coming up to the tricky bit of this clearance now, he's going to get in the right place to dislodge these two reds or pluck them out from where they are.
He's probably gone an inch further than he wanted to there, but he's still in a pretty good position. But I think he wanted to play that red on the right-hand side first. He might still opt for that, or he might go for the red in the left-hand side pocket. Cheat the pocket a little bit here. Looks like he's got the angle he wanted there to put that red in the middle pocket and open up the other red.
It's all about the cannon. First ball goes bottom right, then it's what happens to the next one. Played it in a positive way.
Yeah, that's come out fine. That could have easily nestled behind that yellow, but it's come out perfect. Just needs to roll this red, and he's perfect on the last red.
Yeah, I think he got what he deserved there. Like some people would have tried to play that gently and hold the red down this end of the table, but much better just to get it out into a clear place.
I think this frame sort of sets the tempo for how this match is going to be played. There was a little bit of safety and tactical, but as soon as someone saw a chance to go for the clearance, straight away went for it. Because he could have tried to tie up a pocket early on and played a bit safer, but no, he prefers to attack, as does Tom. So I think we're going to enjoy this final, this semi-final. Feels like a final with these two players here.
Well, yeah, doesn't it just? Although I can tell you that neither of them are going to have an easy run. Goodness, what's he done
Took a
here?
risk there, absolutely. Got into that way too well. He wasn't trying to get... He's okay. Just okay. I think there's a big sigh of relief there.
One more turn of the ball there and he'd have been in real trouble.
He probably overscrewed that by a good 2 feet in the end at what he wanted to, but never mind.
So I'm apologising.
One
there.
frame each.
I was just going on to say neither of them will be in for an easy final. Whoever it is tomorrow, playing Phil Harrison, they're both going to have to turn up with their A games. I would say he probably played at about 80% of his capability in the first semi-final, but that was pretty good. He's probably got a little bit more to come. Both players just turning to their supporters for a quick word between frames. It's the man from Wales, Tom Cousins, that will be breaking.
See
up in
Tom
frame
Price
3.
there on the left. And Zach Shepherd.
All Tom's teammates in a strong Welsh team, although just missing out on the final stages this year.
That's a better break from Tom. That's what we've come to expect of him.
Yeah, really got into that pack well, didn't he?
Unless that yellow squeezes past the red in the top left-hand corner, I think he's definitely going to be going for reds. Doesn't look like it does. So 30 seconds has been called. He's got to make a decision quite soon now. You sort of sometimes feel after the break-off shot you should have that extra 30 seconds on top just to work out the best way forward.
Yeah, I mean, he's had to play a maybe slightly hasty shot. Well, I was going to say I'll settle for that. That's almost covered the pocket.
Yeah, nearly covered both pockets there. That would have been a fantastic shot if he managed to cover
Yes.
both pockets in one shot.
But then it's important that he did come close to covering that pocket, because Mick's only really got one ball that doesn't go anywhere. Slight look of disappointment, though he expects to be afforded a clearance when he sees the table.
I know Mick's got a lot of fans all around the world, especially Australia, because he tends to go there a lot of times. He's been to their Big Guns tournament for the last 2 years. So I'm sure whatever time it is in Australia, they'll be sort of doing their best to be watching this match.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty late now in Australia.
Absolutely.
So well judged plant there to cover the top right hand corner pocket from Tom. So this pattern of tactical play continues.
It is. It's crazy, isn't it? 3 matches in a row. It's been exactly like this.
Well, that being the case, we would advise you to tune in after the mid-session interval, when the second half of the match will be over in about 15 minutes.
Nothing wrong with a good tactical battle. As long as it's not every single frame of the 19 frames.
No, and actually this hasn't been ridiculous stuff. This hasn't been deliberate foul after deliberate foul. It's just been a case of chipping out the balls into possible positions, then clearing them up.
Both players will be looking to go for the clearance as soon as they possibly can as well.
Yes, it's very tantalising for both of them. It's not that far away from being there on both colours, but a little bit to do both ways round. Fancying a practice game, Mick would be having a go at these. Take the double over, one on the right hand side, or maybe it even goes past that red. Just that yellow top right though, that's
Yeah, that's the tricky one.
note.
It does look like the one on the bottom right does pass the red. He's eyeing it up straight away as well. I wonder if he's eyeing up to get behind it to put it in like the middle or corner pocket, or if he's actually trying to find a way of nudge it out into a safer position, into a more open position even.
Oh, does he fancy it goes down the cushion off that red?
Yeah, straight away he's looking at that. Sometimes we call these big pockets, but I'm not sure this one is a big pocket, but it definitely goes through.
No, it's not. I don't think it's helping the pot, but maybe it's not hindering it too much either.
If that red was a further inch to the left, then it would be a massive pocket. If it goes in, though, should be the clearance.
30 seconds.
Yeah, he's not in a bad position. It would be easier if he was just a touch straighter on this, but it's not bad.
No. There he hasn't come as far as he wanted to. Throwing his chalk in disgust there.
Yeah, now this is getting slightly more difficult because now he's got the table opened up for red, so he's got to work out a way here. He can't be having Tom come back.
I think he's going to look to chip the yellow off the red into the pocket or cover the pocket. No, it's decided against that. He did have a quick look at that. So he's got the angle that he was looking for 2 shots ago now. But he's missed the kiss. So Tom's now firm favourite in this frame. That was a key moment in that frame.
Yeah, that's the trouble with these clearances. You have to make up your mind. There's no hedging your bet sometimes. You've either got to go for it or not, and once you're committed to it.
I'm surprised he didn't go for that yellow down to the bottom right-hand pocket when he was behind it, because it does look like it goes. But he must have fancied his chances just to nudge it out and make it an easier pot.
Yeah, I suppose it's quite a tight pocket. I mean, I think if it went, he would have gone for it. He wasn't quite behind it. I guess if it's a very tight pocket, that would have been a tricky shot from the angle he was at. But then, the problem's always going to be, do you get a better chance? Because now, this is hardly appealing where he's left himself. Well, that was the most ambitious of ambitious shots.
He was just trying to get a tiny little clip off the red to go into the pocket, but it wasn't an easy shot. I think he was running a little bit out of time there as well, so he had to be rushed into that shot.
Yeah, he played that fairly quickly. So, very, very presentable opportunity for Tom.
He's just working out how to pot those 2 reds on the top cushion there. Whether to plant it or whether to move one out of the way from another, using the white, potting another ball. We'll see what he decides to do. He doesn't look nervous at all though, does he?
No, he never does. He never looks any
Sunday
different.
afternoon practice for him at the moment.
8-0 up, 8-0 down, all looks the same. And it's an approach that's extremely hard to achieve, but serves him very well. Easier, of course, for both of these players, the fact that they've been in multiple World Finals before. I think getting in and winning your first really has to be the hardest. It tends to be the hardest with most things in life when you haven't done something before.
Yeah, absolutely.
You tend to want it more if you haven't done it before. So playing tight to the ball cushion, so he's able to get through to the red that's nearest the pocket. Not perfectly set for a plant, so this was the safer way of playing the shot. Absolutely prime position now. Can just run through off this red to leave himself a nice angle on the one nearest the ball cushion.
So this match has gone with serve so far.
It has. It hasn't
Not
really
necessarily breaking dishes,
No,
but it has gone with serve. I'm sure it won't be long before we start seeing breaking dishes in this match.
No, both are very good at the dishing part, and as long as luck's on their side, very good at the breaking part as well. So, nice crisp pot on the black. Tom Cousins ahead again by the odd frame, now leads McKill by 2 frames to 1.
Sasha Gowdy, the referee there, setting up the balls. He's been coming to these championships for the last 2-3 years. Maltese.
Yeah, always impressive when people travel to the tournaments, both the players and the officials.
You can see Tom Cousins there, casually chatting to his friend Tom Price and Welsh teammate.
Just struggling to get the ball set up perfectly there. I think there's a lot of pressure on the referees when they do this, because every time there's a bad break, the player just looks at them accusingly.
I struggle to get all the balls touching.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually very hard. These triangles as well, it's actually almost easier with a bigger triangle where you can get your fingers in behind it.
I always find it seems to work better in one of the 3 ways that you can actually position the triangle, and I'll just try and remember which way that was.
Yes.
But at the moment he's struggling with that a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes this is the only thing you can do, just pick up a couple of balls and move them around a bit. Sometimes you can just get a fleck of chalk which is stopping the balls touching. We haven't ever really gone the way of 9-ball pool where
use a magic rack.
Yeah, devices are used to get everything touching. Sometimes tap tables where you kind of bang the balls into position so there's a little indentation in the cloth.
I think it would have been nice to try a magic rack, but then that's the beauty of the break shot as well. By just having it, it's a little bit more random, just doing it by hand like that, which makes it this game even better in my view.
Yeah,
once you have a magic rack, once you work out how to break on a table, you just know exactly where the balls are going to go.
So in a way, it's kind of both made and broken 9-ball. The fact that the break has become quite judgeable if you're a good enough player. This has a more random element.
Oh,
well,
the white straight in. So not a good break at all there by Mick, because it wasn't kissed in by another ball.
So there's one saving grace, there's this cluster on the right-hand side, but Tom's got some chances to get into it.
If that black wasn't there, he would have had a chance straight away to try and manoeuvre them by putting the yellow in the middle, but as it is, he's going to find another way to try and manoeuvre it. I'd imagine he's going to go for the yellows, because there's only one tricky yellow in that cluster.
Yeah, I think plucking
and it's
out
the outside
that
one, so
outside
it's
one
easier to flick it out.
30 seconds.
It might even go in the middle pocket off the other yellow.
The advantage, of course, of the in-off is that having ball in hand, you can get exactly the angle you want off your first ball.
Absolutely.
Although not actually able to do anything too dramatic with that. He, as you say, he was looking at whether he could get straight into the cluster, but as he couldn't.
That's a lovely little shot there.
That's a very well judged shot. A lot of people would be looking for a way to really power into those, but he's just trickled into the side and flicked it out. And look at what a difference that's made. Suddenly that ball's out and the clearance is all there.
He's also got a bit of security in knowing that Mick's reds aren't very well placed on the cushion there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a security he's unlikely to need, but it just makes the clearance that bit easier.
And he's now removed the one red that was potentially an obstacle for any positional shots for his yellows, because his yellows are dominating the centre of the table with reds completely out of the way. Yeah,
there's lots of options here. You can just play in zones. These balls all go into multiple pockets, so would struggle to fall out of position. And then clearly once he gets to the black, hanging over the hole waiting for him. The other thing about Tom is he doesn't mind leaving himself a more difficult long shot.
Well, it looks like he's got an angle there, so he can just do like a soft stun across to put the other yellow in the bottom right-hand pocket. Just leave himself the yellow near the black, and he's perfect on the black afterwards.
He's going to do well to leave himself a long shot in this.
He's just not rushing things. He knows
No,
how important this clearance is. This would be to get the first lead of 2 or more in the match.
Yes, and it's nice to have a bit of a lead against Mikkel because suddenly he can rattle off 2 or 3 without you getting a go. So
yeah,
nice to have that slight cushion just in case that happens.
And when you build that cushion of 2, and on top of that you've got the break next, you never know what can happen. So he's opted for a nice long yellow here, but nice and straight, so his cueing is fantastic, there's no problems here.
So another frame goes the way of the Welshman. As you say, the first 2-frame lead in this match leads Mikkel by 3 frames to 1.
I think Mick's probably a little bit concerned at this stage. He doesn't want Tom to pull away too far, but he's experienced enough to know that he can catch this up quite comfortably at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be short of match play in this kind of situation, Mikkel, although not short of match play generally. He's been playing a lot, just not in the same tournaments as Tom recently. It kind of feels like we've seen less of him. We're used to seeing Tom around all the tours, and because he keeps winning them, you see a lot of him at every tour as well. I mean, certainly we've commentated on a lot of his matches towards the latter stages, and you see a lot of him at the venue because he's obviously there all weekend, busily engaged in winning, whereas Mick, we haven't seen so much around the tournaments because he's been off at other events, but certainly not looking too rusty so far this week.
Plenty of spectators in to watch this match. As I said, it was eagerly awaited since they both won their quarterfinals to set up this semi-final clash.
Yeah, it's quite nice the way that the format of this tournament goes. The semi-finals decided at the end of last week, and then the World Masters event held over the weekend. So the players that do make it through to this TV arena for the semi-finals onwards have got a couple of days to savour that moment. Friends and family who might have wanted to travel up have got time to make the appropriate arrangements. It's a bit easier for these two, both UK-based players. Some of the overseas players had a little bit further to come.
And he's gone in off. Don't see that too often from Tom.
No, I mean, from both of these, we've seen a few surprising
Both of them just
enough so
scratched one after the other, and again, that didn't kiss anything, it just went straight in off.
No,
so this is exactly what Mick needed after going 3-1 down. Ball in hand, and all the balls sitting reasonably pretty, really.
yes, I mean, at risk of jinxing him, this would appear to be the kind of position that Mick clears up blindfolded most of the time.
For me, Reds are looking favourites here.
Yeah, very much so. The black goes to left, middle and right corner, I think. So
Yeah, I believe so as well.
30 seconds.
no real problems. That red in the middle of the table, perhaps the most difficult one to get on, but still plenty of options. It's like, oh, maybe not quite. It looks like he played to get on it there. Still
Yeah, he wanted to get up a little bit further than that, didn't he? But he's still okay.
It's virtually a practice set up this for Mikkel. In fact, he can see this red. That's absolutely perfect then. That was the only one that we suggested might be slightly more difficult. Really helps to build your confidence and get your cue arm going when you have clearances as straightforward as this. As long as he keeps control of the white, he won't have a single difficult pot in this visit. Takes this one bottom right first, screws up for the one top right, and then that one over the centre pocket links nicely to the black. Tom will be annoyed to have given away this opportunity because these balls could have been his. That in off handing control of the table to to Mick. Tom had potted a ball off the break, so if he hadn't have gone in off, he could have had these. As it is, looks like being the quickest frame of the match so far. Mick 2 frames away from clawing one back. So simple position onto the black, simplest of simple black shots to finish the frame off. Mick Hill just ahead, just behind rather, by 1. Tom Cousins leads by 3 frames to 2. Over a fairly easy opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 6. To break, trailing by 3 frames to 2. Time running.
So, Mick Hill, having gone straight into the middle pocket off his last break, will be making an adjustment to avoid that. And avoid it he does.
And a yellow ball down.
Yeah, and at first glance, this looks okay. The yellows seem reasonably accessible. It actually looks less attractive from this view. From overhead, you could kind of see a path for each of the yellows. From here, it looks a bit more
Reds all
congested.
go, but they're just a little bit trickier as well. There's some down the cushions.
Yes, I mean, in a sense, the reds positionally are easier to get onto, but I don't know whether he's going to like.
I think he'll go for yellows though, absolutely.
Yeah, the one near the middle pocket, the top centre of the screen as we look at it now, I mean, it's actually quite a simple double from where he is now, but I don't think he'll want to start like that. Yeah, unsurprisingly sticking with the yellows. So he's on the one in the dead middle of the table above the black now. Just considering where he may want to go.
He's looking to push the red out of the way, which will make his job a little bit easier. I'm not sure that's exactly what he meant there.
No, it wasn't where he pointed, certainly. Although, I mean, actually it's fine, isn't it? He's still on the yellow. That red isn't really causing too much trouble. The black's just a little bit defended now. Oh, what a well-judged shot that is. I mean, that looked so simple the way he played it, but a few inches harder or softer and he's nowhere there.
He's having a good look first because 30 seconds have already been called. Yeah, he's played that well.
Yeah, still giving it due care and attention, isn't he?
Yeah, you can nudge onto the black though and stay on the yellow, which is what he's looking to do there.
Yeah, so it's just a case of how he plays this cannon. Doesn't want to nudge it onto the red. I mean, he shouldn't, but just got to be a little bit careful.
Played it well.
Able to use it to hold position as well, so now can just roll this yellow in.
I can't see there being too much in it between these two during this match. Tom had a 3-1 lead, and in the space of about 5 minutes, Mick has already brought it straight back to 3-all again.
Yeah, and ominous signs, I think, for Tom. Like, if he'd have hoped that Mick might be a bit rusty or not be quite used to this format, he's certainly looking up for the job. Looking as dangerous as he ever does.
I know this is the most frames that Tom has conceded in a match, equal so far, but Mick is a different kettle of fish altogether, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll be conceding more than 3 frames even if he goes on to win this match. I mean, that's a ridiculous stat, isn't it, to go through a tournament only conceding a maximum of 3 frames a match. He's played some decent people along the way. It's not like a bunch of qualifiers that didn't know what they were doing. Got some good people at the business end.
And he was doing the same in the Masters until he came up against Sean Sharkey in the last 32, where he lost 7-4, I believe. And fell enough on the other table, literally 5 minutes apart, Mick Hill lost 7-6 to Josh Kane, the eventual winner.
Yeah, it's funny. You kind of assume, because the World Singles are played first and then the Masters, that the same people are going to get through in both, but it shows the strength in depth.
Yeah.
We've seen that a number of times over the years. Somebody's run away with the Worlds and you think, well, they're bound to clean up in the Masters as well. It doesn't always follow.
Because I know Tom was keen to do well in the Masters, because he's never actually had a good run right to the end on that one yet. For no reason why not, but again, I think Sean Sharkey did 6 dishes against him, so there's not much you can do about that.
No, that would be a tough standard for most people to play against, even if you are Tom Cousins. Although we've all watched Tom do that to other people, so he understands what it feels.
Controls the white ball better this time as well. Yeah, it's a much better white. Has anything dropped?
No, it hasn't.
No, he's struggling on the break here. That's the difference between the 7 and the 8 foot table, though. It does play differently. He's just not used to not getting a ball off the break.
No, you could see.
He breaks, he's got at least 2 or 3 balls each time.
Yeah, and another really good split. I mean, look at the balls, the reds here in particular.
Momentum's definitely with Mick at the moment. Because if you don't get a ball off the break, what you'd like to see is the ball nicely sort of clustered, but all the reds are sitting pretty there, so it's definitely not what Tom wanted to see there.
No, it looks like this match is getting into the dishing phase sooner than the earlier ones.
Yeah.
They've all started, all 3 of the ones we've commentated on have started with a tactical exchange, but they've all got going eventually, and this one's
We'll probably end up
definitely
having a
going.
tactical fest in the second half,
Yes.
won't we, just to prove us wrong.
Don't know, it doesn't really look like either of them see the need for that at the moment. Well, still a slightly rueful look from Mick, but I don't think there's too much to be worried about at the moment. This looks a fairly prime position he's still in. Certainly in the early part of his career, he often went by the nickname The Machine. A very machine-like performance he tends to put on in the latter stages of these tournaments.
Absolutely.
Give him one clearance like this and he finishes it off.
Again, trying to do as little as possible with the white ball. Keep perfect control of it. He's working his way down the table with the reds.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. You don't want the cue ball moving around more than you need to. If you can take the balls out in zones. Well, an unintended cliff on the black,
Yeah.
but fortunately for him it hasn't caused too much damage. Although it may
That's
make this
purely because
positional
he's
shot.
jacking up on the cue there slightly, so it's always slightly harder to control the white ball when you do that.
Yeah, it may make this positional shot a little bit more difficult. I think the natural angle for just running the cue ball through might involve hitting the black. So
He's going to have to be careful here, isn't he?
May have to play this a bit firmer and screw back.
And that's what he was worried about. I
Yeah.
think he might have got away with that.
Well, if that red goes, he's really got away with it.
Absolutely. It's a lucky break there for Mick.
Yeah, he was trusting to luck where that red ended up, and once it touched onto the black like that, it could easily have been hampered, but still went in.
Recovered well. Yep. Admits he was a bit lucky on the positional there. On
So
2 occasions, really, there.
Yeah, so for the first time in this match, McHill goes ahead by the odd frame.
We've got 2 more frames, and then we've got a 10-15 minute interval. And he feels like this match has just started. Doesn't feel there's a need for an interval at this stage, but there will be.
No, that's often the way when Mick's playing. You think, just get the whole thing done in one go. Important for Tom to win at least one of these next 2 frames. I think 5-4 either way will be a generally fair reflection of the way the game's gone. He wouldn't want to slip 6-3 behind, having been 3-2 up at one stage. I think 3-1 up, in fact, at one stage.
Frame number 8. Mick to break, leading by 4 frames to 3. Time running.
So what can McHill do? Had a better break last time. Well, it was a little bit lucky. The white was kind of going towards
It's
that middle
heading
pocket.
towards there, wasn't it? But that was a good break.
Yeah, it's a good break and another really good split. They're both really starting to split the balls that way. Starting to see these first visit clearances more and more now. This is another opportunity where Mick's going to be very much expecting to get over the line without Tom coming to the table.
Yellow balls on 80.
Playing with a lot of right hand side there to hold the cue ball for this yellow in the right centre. Noticeably quicker tempo as well. Now he's got a frame ahead, started clearing up a bit more often, feeling more confident clearly.
He's going to make sure that he has perfect cue ball control compared to the last frame now.
You know, for a lot of people this shot would be potentially missable, but Mick is so reliable with this kind of shot. It's very easy to brush the jaw here and leave the ball rattling in the pocket.
But from the first semi-final we saw, the pockets look reasonably generous down the rails.
Yeah, as long as you don't hit them too hard, it's fine. There's a kind of optimum weight. You don't have to hit them too slow, and in fact you don't want to hit them dead slow, but just give them a chance.
I'm not sure if something's happening in the arena because we're outside the arena at the moment, but
Yeah, the referee called a time-out there, but we're back now again. That was just a momentary pause. Well,
that was definitely generous.
I have to
then.
say that was
should not have
very
gone in.
generous. And he knows that as well. I mean, over the years, you get a lot of comments that we'll get a lot of feedback saying these pockets are huge, and sometimes that's a bit misleading, and they're not
That
quite as
shouldn't
big
have
as they
dropped that,
look,
should
but
it?
that should not have dropped.
Time out. Time running.
The issue there, I think, with the mobile phone ringing in the arena. So all starting to look quite simple for Mick. He's coming
He
to
would
the...
like to have been just a bit further up there, but he's still fine. Just going to have a slightly finer cut on that yellow down the cushion. He's going to play with a bit of... Yeah, he's fine.
Just feels like every time he's coming to the table now, he's got some kind of presentable clearance available.
Well, it'll be a relief that pocket's quite generous on the bottom right-hand side, because Tom should definitely have been coming back to the table.
Yes, I mean, sort of verging on a fluke, really, the fact that ball went in the way he'd played it, but the rest of it wasn't a fluke at all. He's taking the rest of the balls well. So McHill ahead for the first time by 2 frames in this match. Now leads Tom Cousins by 5 frames to 3. Important last frame before the mid-session interval, this.
Tom would be happy that he's breaking, because he's going to be desperate to win this one to go in there 5-4 rather than 6-3, because that's quite a large lead if he goes into the interval 6-3 down.
Yeah, especially against Mick. He's one of the worst players in the world to get behind. He's just such a good front runner.
It doesn't feel like a 6-3 scoreline to Mick if it happens that way at this stage, though, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't. It's really just been the last few frames that Tom has just been struggling to get in. Mick has just had the better opportunities and he's converted them. Auditorium starting to fill up now. So, important break for Tom Cousins. Got to get a ball down. Got to keep the white on the table.
Yes, yellow's just dropped down. I thought that was going to be another dry break for a second.
Yeah, and you almost felt a sort of him willing that in. It just felt like he hit that a little bit harder than he had been some of the earlier ones. He's just desperately trying to get something towards the pocket.
Has he got an angle in this yellow so he can screw back with a bit of power and split those 3 balls?
I think it may be a bit straight for that.
He looks a bit straight, doesn't he?
80 seconds.
So going for the reds. Not sure that would have been everyone's choice, although there were pros and cons to both.
Looks like he's got the angle now to screw back and pop that red open.
Yeah, the only thing he's got to
not.
be careful of if he does play that shot is not just to leave the red frozen to the yellow that he hits. It would be quite easy to end up nested onto it. Well, in the catalogue of surprising misses, that's going to come fairly close to the top. Just trying to force a bit of angle, wasn't he, to get into that cluster?
Really. He forced the angle and still couldn't get the split. So it's.
Mind you, I suppose I'd be relieved that he hasn't got the split, given that he welcomes Mick back to the table. I mean, that's the kind of pot that he literally just never misses, isn't it? It's only the fact he was trying to force that angle that made that even remotely possible.
It does look that yellow goes past the red in the bottom left-hand pocket, which gives him the chance to split those balls up. If he hasn't got the angle at the moment on one of these yellows into the middle bag. This is a big frame for Mick just before the interval. Now he's got a chance.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes in 6-3, I think Tom will be kind of annoyed with himself. That was a decent opportunity he's just had in this frame, even if the ones before he didn't have too much choice. I think Mick was trying to leave a slightly different angle. He doesn't look too pleased with himself there. Considering how he might go into this cluster. Has he got the angle to screw straight back into it?
I think he has on this one. He's just setting himself up for the next one.
Well, that's an unusual choice of shot.
Look, obviously that yellow didn't go past the red then, I would imagine. It's the only reason he played it that way, tried to get behind it.
Yeah, this has not worked out very well. If he goes around that red, he's in good position, but once he touches it...
And it could be the only yellow that he can see without being snookered is the one that's tied up to the red, which he doesn't really want to move at this stage.
No, he really doesn't want to move that. If he touches that, the balls are all going to open up. Can he see enough? Yeah, it's difficult if he can't, because He can come off a cushion and hit one of the other ones, but he's just going to leave his opponent right in amongst it if he hits either of the other one. He's going to do really well to leave this safe, I think. His best bet, yeah, is just to try and tie things up a bit. At least once he's left that cluster tied up, he's got some choice. Tom can, of course, pot this one bottom left now and go off the cushion into that cluster if he can get down there. Mick's managed to tie up the top right-hand corner, so that...
But that red still doubles into the opposite middle. No, we're having a little tactical battle now. Just setting himself up.
Yes, he's got the luxury of being able to do that. I mean, I don't think he'll really want to leave Mick. I mean, he has left him a shot at a straight pot here, but just banking on the fact that he can't really do enough. He obviously can't get into the cluster off this shot, and it's hard to...
There's no benefit in going for it, though, is there?
No.
Because there's no way of splitting those two yellows at the moment.
No, that's what Tom's banking on, which is why he had the luxury of playing that defensive shot. So Mick forced to just tie things up. He knows that Tom would have been going for the clearance otherwise. Now it's a bit more tied up. Got two clusters he would have to attend to if he did want to clear up.
We do see the occasional tactical battle between these two, but they never last long, though, do they?
No. I don't think either of them is a fan of just covering pockets. The kind of tactical battles we've seen haven't really been the traditional ones where people cover the pockets and then push balls towards them. It's more just been vying for position to go for a clearance. Yeah, that is a good shot because the equation is the same again. The ball that Mick can see is not really the one he wants to play, which is why he's coming off a cushion even though he can see one direct. Well,
oh, he got lucky there. He wasn't going for that one.
It's a very advanced shot. He
played it hard because he had to make sure he hit a cushion afterwards. Completely missed it. Very lucky not to give two shots away there.
Smiling Mick Hill takes his seat. Well, it's sort of good news and bad news. He hasn't given two shots away, but he has opened up one of the two.
There's also the whites landed right on the bottom cushion, so he's had a fair bit of luck in that
yeah,
shot there.
He's had some running there. Yeah, I mean, if Tom could see a clear pot, he'd be going after these, but not very easy to get started. Well, that's good enough. That blocks the pocket for that yellow, so that buys him a bit more time. That was a kind of in or over shot.
Mick's going to be wanting to move that yellow as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's imperative for Mick that he keeps as many of these yellows in play as possible, otherwise he's just giving his opponent too much time to tidy the table up. So Mick's options were fairly limited there in terms of what he could do with the white. He was never really going to be able to leave Tom in a position where he didn't have a shot at anything. But still banking on that cluster being an issue.
Both have got the same issue. Whoever opens that cluster and they're on their balls are going to win, really.
Yeah, both have got the same issue, but Tom's at the table first, so he's still the man in control of the situation.
30 seconds.
Big shout out to Mark Oaten, who's watching this match from Aberdeen. eyes. It's like, oh, that's perfect. I think that yellow and that red goes into the middle pocket.
Yes,
Lovely little shot there.
That's absolutely ideal. Not
So
having
all
to
we
move
need to
too
do,
much.
just flick that yellow out the way.
Yeah, because if you hit the whole cluster, you risk pushing it safe again. But so, good opportunity for Tom to get things back to just one frame behind before the mid-session interval. And that will really set up a tremendous second half of the match.
Absolutely. Which is what I think all the neutrals want to see, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a quick match anyway. Everyone wants to see as many frames of it as possible. They don't want one person. Well, obviously, some will be rooting for one or the other, but the neutrals will be wanting to see as much pool as possible.
We all love a decider, don't we?
Yes, we haven't had one of those in the stream stages so far. It'd be nice to see. Some very memorable ones last year. I think deciders in the team matches are the ultimate. Pressure of stepping
in
up.
team matches is always far greater, though, isn't it?
In front of all your teammates. Well, there was a moment. The Irish team, there was some team ended up putting forward a guy who hadn't played a single frame in the match. He was a reserve.
Final,
they put him in
it?
for the deciding frame.
I remember that. Because after this match, we've got team semi-finals now. I think, is it India versus England, the first semi-final?
It is indeed, 6 o'clock.
There you go, guys. We've reached the mid-session interval, and Mick Lead now leads 5 frames to 4. There'll be a short interval of around 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll see you all shortly.
Welcome back to the second half of this second semi-final. Mick Hill leading Tom Cousins by the narrowest of margins, 5 frames to 4 at the moment.
Neither player have stamped their authority yet, have they? So both players are going to want to do that now.
Yeah, it looked for a moment like Tom got off to the better start, and then Mick seemed to have the momentum, but Tom would be very relieved to have got that one before the mid-session interval. 5-4, and it's anybody's game, whereas 6-3 would have been a tougher ask. So it'd be Mick to break first. This is proving fairly decisive so far. Dry breaks generally being punished.
Poor Sasha trying to get the balls touching again.
Yeah, and it's particularly important with these two because they're both such good breakers that they're going to be looking for someone to blame if they don't manage to pot a ball. It's always a debate with the players as to whether you should go and inspect the rack. Like, I never really like to do that. I just think it's...
Neither of these players do, though, do
No,
they?
I just think it slightly undermines the referee. Like, I think they know whether they've got it right. You've got to watch the break to see if there's a problem.
Oof, white ball nearly went in the pocket again.
Yeah, and another sort of unforced straight in. Oh, but that's, well...
On the back went in, didn't you see
down,
that?
so
Golden break.
a golden break where you have to do it again, though.
Yep.
So unlike in 9-ball where golden break does mean you win, yeah, it's as you were.
Just means
Referee wraps
Sasha's
up
got
and
the
we
same
start
problem again
Yes.
now, hasn't he?
Sasha, I'm sure, will be delighted to have this extra bit of practice. Was it ever really sure? I mean, I've never tried wearing them, but those white gloves just look quite slippery somehow. They don't actually look like they'd really help you very much.
No, absolutely.
Everyone we've seen so far has been playing the front ball. Like sometimes, for example, on a club table where you can't get all the balls touching, sometimes you're better doing a cut break off the second
Off
ball
the second
down.
ball, isn't it? You got less chance going in off as well when you do the second ball down.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to go enough. The advantage of the second ball is touching 4 other balls, not just 2, so you tend to get a better connection.
Another dry break.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Both struggling a bit with their breaks today.
Yeah, he'll be particularly annoyed because he potted one off the first break, but then the black went in as well, so he had to have this second go. This looks a pretty nice split there, doesn't it? Mick's still looking pretty jovial, as I suppose you'd expect with him being 5-4 up. He's one of the more expressive players. Like, he doesn't always keep completely deadpan expression when he's playing. You do sometimes
Absolutely.
see a bit in his face about how he's feeling.
He looks very comfortable at the moment.
And I think the fact that he's got other stuff going on in life, some other projects, it kind of makes it easier. It takes the pressure off a bit. When you're doing this all day, every day, it's kind of more important to you, I guess. Like, he still, don't get me wrong, he still massively wants to win, but it helps to perhaps come in with a freer mind.
So Tom's opted for yellows because there wasn't really an easy starter for reds. I think ideally he would have preferred to be reds. There's a couple of little challenges on yellows.
Yes, the biggest of which is the one on the left-hand side.
Which can't see if it goes past that red. It doesn't look it for me, does it? But can be
No,
deceiving.
no, that's very tight, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think you'd want to play it like that.
You nudge it out here. He's tried it. Or he's unlucky.
Yeah, it was just a tricky angle to make. The trouble is, once
Might
you
have
don't
another
make
chance here. Pop the yellow into the top right-hand pocket and nudge that yellow out. Needs a bit of luck as well because he doesn't want to just nudge it slightly up the cushion because it still won't go.
No, this is going to be a difficult cannon, actually. There's no really perfect way, because he also needs to try and leave himself some kind of shot afterwards.
And avoid the double kiss as well.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, he's going to need to hit the near side to leave a shot, but then the near side risks just pushing it up the cushion. Yeah, there's his luck.
That's okay. He's got the cut into the bottom corner bag. Ideally, he'd love to have stayed on that yellow on the bottom cushion.
Yes, that would have been.
But he can always come
absolutely
back to
perfect.
that one as his last ball if need be.
So this clearance still available, although you see how good the reds are, so going to have to make these.
Might go for the yellow in the middle pocket first shot. Depends what he feels most comfortable with.
Yeah, if you can drop that yellow in, I think it's a tighter angle than it looks on the screen, but if you can drop it in, it would make the positional side much more straightforward. Yeah, I mean, looking like that, you always think that's fine, but you actually try and play these shots, they're awkward at that angle.
It's a tougher pot, but it's easier to control the white ball playing that shot.
Yeah, well, and it's also a tough ball. He's still got to get on the ball somehow. So, well, in fact, he's opting for the safety
in the end.
I don't blame him there, because if he'd have missed that pot, he was leaving Mick in, and that would have been the end of the frame. And it wasn't 100% shot by any means. Because where these yellows are, Mick's going to do relatively well to get this safe, I think.
And both players want to start off on a good footing in this second half of the match. But yeah, Mick's got to be careful here.
Yeah, it's the containing safety. No real point risking anything too elaborate.
All Mick's reds are in the open, so he just wants that opportunity. So he's just trying to stop Tom going for the clearance at this stage. Now Tom's got to find a way of stopping Mick going for the clearance on this shot. Has he got just enough to squeeze it between the red and the cushion to stop him? He has to be exact. 1 millimetre out, and he's got that yellow in the bottom left-hand pocket. Looks like he's got it.
Yeah, it's a good shot if he has. There was very little to play with there. Yeah, that's a total snooker. That's amazing, isn't it? When you look at that angle.
That helps him, though.
I mean, what a good shot, though.
Because he just needs to nestle.
Yeah, he can just rest on this. He doesn't
on
have
this
to hit the
yellow.
cushion. Well, this is
Did
the
that
problem.
just graze the yellow?
Yeah, it grazed the yellow, but he's left Mick this red top left. That's all he really needs, a starting ball.
Oh,
well.
Now what has he left? I think he's been a bit fortuitous there.
Yeah, if he'd have left the one in the middle, this would have been all over. He's left a shot, but it's to the one at the bottom of the table, I think. Don't think he can see enough of the one in the middle to pot it. Or maybe indeed even to hit it.
Might be forced to cut this yellow into the bottom right-hand pocket here.
Yeah, I think he's got to. I mean, he can play it in such a way that if he covers the pocket, it helps a bit. I mean, he really actually wants this down, though, because he doesn't want Mick coming back to the table. Well, that pocket has proved generous today, hasn't it? That was it. I mean, it was a good shot, but
because he didn't put it in the middle of the pocket, that's why he's slightly run out of position with the white here.
Yeah, he's going to have to play another good shot.
Play the similar shot, because if it covers the pocket, as you said, he's got a bit of safety net there.
Yeah, if you can just play this and make sure he takes the white up for the other yellow, it should be possible to play this as a shot to nothing. But again, I think even if he covers that pocket, he's going to be leaving Mick a double at that red. He just really wants to get this frame done. There's no really good miss from this position where the red's are.
Yeah, he played that with a bit of left-hand side, which made the pot a lot harder. But unfortunately for him, it's just popped out the pocket, so Mick's actually got the clearance on there. It's just playing with a bit of left-hand side made that pot so much harder for him.
Yeah, which he had to do, otherwise he wasn't going to have a shot at the next ball, which was going to be a bit pointless. That was a tricky shot from where he was playing it. Good chance though for Mick Hill. Chance to go 2 ahead.
They both have had a chance to miss pots now.
30 seconds.
Yes, with these two, you kind of see that as unexpected. With most people, you say, well, of course they're going to miss a few pots in a best of 19, but these two are so good you really don't expect them to. Going to be a painful loss for Tom this frame. He's been in and had a couple of chances.
You'd like to be in a little bit further up the table on that shot though. But he's still in a good position, a little soft screw shot. Again, not exactly how he wanted to play it, but he's fine still.
Yeah, fortunately for him, he's always had a few choices in this clearance, so it was hard to mess it up too much. That was a good controlled shot, held nice position. So a good clearance from Mick, but an opportunity that shouldn't necessarily have been afforded. Black ball down, Mick now leads by 2 frames at 6-4.
It's Tom's break now, so it's going to be important for him to get a ball off the break now. Now we're getting closer to the winning line.
Yeah, it's the old adage, you can't really win it in the first session, but you can certainly lose it. They both managed to stay in the match, but this is the business end now. Mick needs another 4 to book a place in yet another world final. Tom needs another 6. So Tom's effectively got to win 6-3 from here on in, which we were saying at the top of the show, he hasn't conceded more than 3 in any other match, so he's used to that format.
But he's not dominated this match in any way or form so far in the first 10 frames.
No.
Which is not something we're accustomed to at the moment.
No, and I mean, actually, it's not something he's going to be accustomed to. It probably is a strange position. I mean, I think probably on paper he was the favourite coming into this. He's the higher ranked player and the one in the more obviously good form, but Mick Hill is kind of the ultimate wild card. Turns up having not played in many tour events. You just know how devastatingly good he can be.
The white ball again. Oh. That could be a massive turning point in this match.
Well, for a moment, I mean, it looked like it was nailed on to go in, and then that ball just appeared from nowhere.
Because that was the same pocket it went in off the first time he went in off.
Good goalkeeper he's employed there. How significant could that moment be? Got a chance now to get it back to just 1.
Balls are nicely spread. I think there's just one slightly awkward yellow. But he's going to have plenty of opportunity to improve that yellow. Even with the reds, there's only one awkward red.
So it is the yellows he's going for. Yeah, just that yellow on the right hand side cushion is the most difficult one, although not a huge problem necessarily.
He may decide just to play it down the cushion.
Yeah, I think from where it is, that may be the wiser option. The double isn't really on because there's a red in the way. There's probably no point taking an unnecessary risk with it. For the most part, the top players are quite keen not to move balls that don't need to be moved. If there's some kind of pot on, generally they prefer to take it. A couple of ways he could get to that yellow. He's looking at coming down the table first.
And from what we've seen so far, the table's playing quite generous, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not any good though.
He's done too much into that one, so he lost the effect of the side on that one.
Well, if he was playing for the one on the cushion there, this has turned out all wrong. I mean, it wasn't going to be an easy shot if you were right behind it, but it certainly isn't an easy shot from this kind of distance. But
He just screw this one a bit.
He is
Oh
a
no, he
very good
doesn't.
potter.
Stop the white is fine there. Oh, that's unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the risk though. Like, even if you're Tom Cousins, potting that down the cushion from that distance is a challenge.
Can't really afford to do that 6-4 down though, can he?
No, and Mick Hill will be growing in confidence. He's doing perfectly well off his own opportunities. If he starts being gifted opportunities as well, this match could be over very quickly.
Just stood up there because he was being called 30 seconds at the same time he was about to play.
So change of plan. He's going for the one in the middle first. So a couple of semi-difficult balls for Mick. His next pot's easy, but then he's going to have to look at getting after a couple of the difficult ones.
He's left a bit more of an angle than he wanted to on that one.
Yeah, at least he's on it, but he's going to have to dig into the cue ball to hang on to it.
Played it well.
Yeah, that's a really good shot. It was more, the positional side of that was more difficult than it looked.
It looks like he's got the angle to improve the position of the red on the cushion there.
Yeah, just going to be a bit careful with this. It'd be quite easy to knock it away from the cushion. It's not absolutely guaranteed a shot. He kind of wants to nudge it towards the pocket, not just bash straight into it.
30 seconds.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he has done. That's judged to perfection. So ominous signs this for Tom Cousins. Had an opportunity in this frame, but he's let it slip. Mick Hill now really starting to go through the gears. He's been pretty relentless every time he's been given an opportunity since the mid-session interval.
So since Tom's been 3-1 up, it really has been Mick controlling it more, hasn't it? And it's now starting to show. 7-4.
Now by the three frames.
Ahead, only 3 more to win.
Yeah, the task facing Tom is getting harder and harder. He's looking for a 6-2 win now. No real signs in what we've seen so far that he's going to manage to hold Mick to only 2 frames out of the next 8.
And it's also Mick's break now as well, isn't it?
Wouldn't necessarily be able to tell from looking at the players who was ahead and who was behind, both keeping very level countenance.
7 frames to 4. Time running.
This man is ahead though. So breaks off in frame 12, looking for a ball and finding a ball. Yellow down. Not a completely straightforward opportunity from here.
Next game after this is the men's team semi-final, which is England versus India at 6 o'clock, which is going to be followed at 9 o'clock in the evening by Scotland versus Ireland. Should both be cracking games.
Yeah, I love watching the team matches. You just get so much emotion from all the players, and there's always a huge atmosphere in the room. Much louder. This is played in a much more well, the team ones are played in a respectful way, but this is a much sort of calmer environment, whereas the team ones, you'll hear so much more shouting between shots. Still, of course, the best of order when a player's down for a shot, but beforehand, lots being shouted out by teammates and supporters in the team game.
A lot more atmosphere in the crowd in the team events, isn't there?
And especially having it on in the evening as well, there'll be a bigger crowd in. Although, looking at a close to capacity crowd now, people have been arriving during the course of this match.
But if you want updates as to what's coming up, you can also go onto Facebook and find Beard Productions, who are the company that are producing this brilliant live stream. And if you like their Facebook page, then obviously every time they do an update, you'll get notifications for it. So Vic's landed a little bit short here, hasn't he?
Yes, he looks a bit pained a couple of times in this clearance. Slightly struggling to find prime position. Wasn't quite as easy a layout. We've seen some pretty open layouts after the last few breaks.
The yellow in the middle pocket off the red.
Yes, this is a pretty
something
advanced
that
shot.
can go wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, the kind of distance he's got to cover.
Decided against that.
Yeah, I'm not
Don't
sure
blame
about
him, to
that
be
one.
fair.
It's beyond an exhibition shot, I think.
Doesn't look like that's in, but we said that on a previous shot and it dropped in.
Yeah, I think that's the right result. That would not have been appropriate for that ball to drop down. So, something of a reprieve for Tom. See, the fact that that top right-hand corner is blocked is a bit of an inconvenience, but he can drop behind these two balls. The one along the baulk cushion, of course, goes to the top left, and can drop behind the other one as well. So, opportunity here for Tom. And this is the kind of opportunity that, against most players, he's been taking out for fun during the course of this week. Well, during the course of this season. It's a slightly different equation. He's finding himself several frames behind against one of the most successful players of all time in a world semi-final.
And a shout out to Carl Sutton, who's watching this from his bedroom, because he's obviously preparing for the men's team semi-finals.
So just over an hour to go till England take on India.
It was Carl who had the pleasure of doing that 4-hour marathon commentary that I was talking to you about a week or so ago, which lasted till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well, respect to him for Tom's made a decent effort at getting behind the difficult balls. Yeah, very good quality pot there. Very, very easy to rattle those ones along the cushions played at that pace. Grimace from McHill in the background. Be pretty happy with where he is generally in this match, but slightly annoyed not to be at the table at present.
30 seconds.
So just the one difficult ball still for Tom. He's removed the other difficult one. Just got to at some stage find a way of dropping behind this one top right.
Has he got enough angle to do that now? Looks like it, possibly. Or he's going to position himself. Yeah, perfect angle.
A perfectly played positional shot. Better, of course, to get on this one early, because then he's still got these two at the bottom of the table that kind of link up okay.
It's difficult to see the angle. I think he might have liked to have been a further sort of inch or so up the table, so he could just stun the ball in and then come back down the table. But he's now going to follow through. Shouldn't be a problem. He's played that well.
Yeah, he's played that perfectly. Still looking good, although he's a few frames behind. There's been a good level of performance still.
Doesn't want to be too straight here. Looks like he is.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately the black's relatively straightforward. Even if worst case he can't move the white out too far, he's still going to leave a shot at it.
Looks like I might just have to stun the white and leave himself a slightly trickier shot in the middle. See what angle he's got here. Oh, he had some angle, that's good.
Yes, decided to play the positive shot there. Simple black is down.
Acknowledged by Mick there.
Yeah, I mean, the match has been played in a sporting spirit as we'd have expected. We were saying beforehand that Tom and Mick were chatting outside. They get on well. Certainly no animosity off the table, but both of them will be desperate to get one over the other one on the table. Mick currently 2 frames to the good, but that's a lead that can evaporate pretty quickly.
There we go, there's confirmation. The next match is England versus India at 6 o'clock.
First of 2 semi-finals tonight. Second one on at 9 o'clock. Scotland v Ireland.
Scotland v Ireland at 9 o'clock, absolutely. Then it all starts again tomorrow. I think tomorrow it starts at 11 o'clock, slightly earlier than today.
Yes, indeed. Team final at 11 o'clock tomorrow, followed by the ladies' final and then the showpiece event, the men's final, later on tomorrow afternoon. We already know the identity of one of the finalists, Phil Harrison. These 2 men are playing for the right to play him in that final.
That's a better break from Tom.
Massive break.
Played it differently because he actually made sure the white went forward this time, not backwards, as he's gone in off, or nearly gone in off twice in that, as we see it, bottom left-hand pocket.
Yeah, much better control that time. Really got through the pack, got lots of power onto the shot and got it into the pack, which is the key thing.
And seeing how these balls broke, I think he's going to try the similar break next time now, because he seems to have found the secret to the break on this table.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the key thing at this level. If you can turn it into a 2 frames swing when your opponent lets you back in. Required Mick Hill's help to get back in the last frame, but he can do this all on his own if he can clear up from here. So all the balls out in the open. He's on arguably the most difficult one already.
And it looks like that yellow down the bottom goes past the red into the bottom left-hand pocket.
So no obvious impediment to the clearance here.
I think he's now going to clear the 2 yellows at the top of the table and come back down for the other 2 closest to the black.
Well, you wouldn't know that he was the man that was behind. He's playing the match in a positive style still. He doesn't really know any other way. I don't think I've ever seen him really get into a particularly cagey way of playing. He's always positive.
Both these players have got full of confidence to reel off 3-4 frames in a row in no time. It's always a plus in these sort of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. The knowledge that you can stick a few together means you can, if you have got a deficit, you can get it levelled up pretty quick. So the momentum that had undoubtedly been with Hill for a few frames is now starting to swing back towards Cousins. If he can get this one on the board, he'll only be 1 behind. Don't think he'll be dwelling too much on it, but he will be mindful, of course, that when these 2 played in the World Final a couple of years ago, it was Hill that prevailed, so he understands the size of the task. No, I don't. This is putting me on the spot.
I haven't got that, I'm afraid. No, so closes the gap again. Hello to Catherine Buckley, who's watching this from Ireland.
I remember it being a good final, though, the match between them. It was pretty close. I can't remember quite how close it was in the end, but trading big blows, as you'd have imagined. We've been treated to some great finals the last few years. Last year's was excellent performance by Sean Chipperfield.
It's quite similar to the first semi-final, wasn't it? Because Dave Fernandez was 7-4 down. He was 6-1 down, 7-4 down, brought it back to 7-6. And exactly the same things happened in this match from 7-4 to 7-6. But in the last match, Phil Harrison pulled away now, so can Mick Hill do the same?
Yeah, well, he's got the chance to. It's him to break. Now, this is a very important frame. The difference between 7-all and an 8-6 is clear to see.
7 frames to 6. Time running.
Big, powerful break by Mick. Kept some kind of control of the white, moving around a bit, but at least it hasn't found a pocket. And that's a pretty good split. The red ball's all in possible positions. 2 of them down already. And the yellow off the break, so couldn't have asked for much more than that.
One of the up-and-coming players from our region's watching this. Hi, Ben Middleton. Hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, for any up-and-coming players, this is an example of something to aspire to. It's not just, I mean, a lot of people can kind of achieve this standard in patches when they're practicing, but it's the fact that these two can step out in a world semi-final and still play as well as this.
Or in Tom Cousins' case, the whole year so far.
Yes, in every match.
No exception.
I mean, it's just, yes, there's like one match in the Masters. That's about the only match he's lost in a major tournament.
And if someone dishes you up 6 times, there's not much you can do about
No.
it, is there?
Not quite able to help his national team Wales into the semi-finals. They lost in the playoff last night.
Seconds.
4 good teams have made it through though. England, Scotland, Ireland and India. Be seeing all of those in action over the next few hours. Look at whether he may need to play a cannon on this yellow. It looks, first glance, like he might just be able to screw around it, but he seems to be considering.
It's a perfect holding ball.
Yeah, just a gentle cannon. So these are exactly the kind of big finishes that we were expecting to see these two trading. Just watched his opponent reel 2 off. This is his opportunity to get ahead again. Well, that's a little close to for comfort.
It was, wasn't it?
No harm done as it happens. So made this look pretty simple.
Just what the doctor ordered that.
Black goes down. McHill ahead again by 2. Now leads Tom Cousins by 8 frames to 6. So edging closer and closer to the winning line. Hill now 2 away. Cousins 4 away.
Just see Tom Price on the left-hand side. And today he's celebrating his 29th birthday. So happy birthday, Tom Price.
Love to add to the celebrations by seeing his good friend and teammate make it to the World Final.
But at the moment, it's looking more likely it's going to be Mick Hill at the moment.
Yeah, and that would make for an old school final, wouldn't it? Hill-Harrison final. That could have been 10 years ago.
Frame number 15. Tom Cousins to break. Trailing by 8 frames to 6. Time running.
So looking for a break like his last one. Well, it's a bit like his last one in that the balls have split up well, but with one important difference. Nothing's gone down. And look at where these yellow balls have finished. Well, look at where both sets of balls have finished. Be either colour.
Yellow's definitely favourite here.
I mean, that couldn't have been much better a split. It's just the fact he didn't pot a ball that was costly. So could this be the frame that Mick needs to get onto the proverbial hill?
The last break, Tom managed to follow through slightly, which worked well. That's why I was expecting him to do the same this time, but he didn't quite hit it as well as he wanted to.
No, and these tiny differences can be sometimes all it takes at this level.
With the break-off shot being such the most important shot, I think that's probably the big difference between playing on a 7 and an 8 foot table, because we just don't get to practice on an 8 foot table. So potting balls, it's the same whether it's snooker, pool or whatever, but the break-off shot, you know, that's something they've got 1 hour's practice each on the table before the match, and that's the only time they've got the chance to work out how the break works best.
Yeah, and for all the practicing and all the skill that goes into it, there's still that final element of luck that you can't always overcome. So that ball a little bit too straight. Mick didn't have any option to get down the table, but shouldn't be a problem.
Yep, he's happy with that. It's always difficult controlling the white when you're putting a ball that's right over the pocket, but he played really well there.
Yeah, the play off the cushion and from distance meant there was a limit to what he could do with that, but it's turned out okay. Just able to see this
Top
one.
and left-hand side to get onto the other yellow for the middle. It looks like it's going to be 9-6.
So right now it's all looking pretty simple for Hill.
It's like the first semi-final. One player just catches up at the crucial time, and then before he knows it, he's 9-6 down, 3 down with 4 to play.
Number 16.
So, Mick 9-6 up, breaking. Needing just this frame to win to get into the final. And the one thing he didn't want to see is a dry break, which is exactly what he's got now. So Tom will be relieved by that. Balls are split pretty nicely. So he's now at the point of no return, so he cannot afford to make any more mistakes. That was the awkward cueing that he missed it. As I said, couldn't afford to make any more mistakes, and the first thing he did is make the mistake. This could be the last shot that he's played in this year's World Championship, I think.
Yeah, that smile tells you everything, doesn't it?
Because the yellows look lovely here.
Yellow was in place.
You just sense a certain inevitability here. Mick just looks like he's up for this.
The one thing that surprised me in this semi-final is Tom has never really got into his stride at any stage in the final, has he? And even
No,
that
he
last
hasn't.
shot showed it.
Yeah, he just hasn't been able to. He's got one or two, but then he just hasn't been able to string lots together.
It looks like he's landed perfect on that yellow second to the right from the black. If he can get rid of that, then all the balls are out in the open. Looking like a straightforward clearance here. Just a few little soft stun shots. I think the neutrals are hoping that Tom might get another chance here, but I think Mick is well deserved if he finishes off these 4 balls to win this match. He's been the most consistent player throughout. By winning this frame, it'll give him the opportunity to become the first player to win 4 World Championship titles. And that final, I believe, will be played tomorrow at 5 PM. Well played, Mick. Unlucky Tom.